Lunch money. Lunch money.
We've all been there at one time or another, standing in line at the school cafeteria. Well, when it comes to school lunches, things have changed over the past century. From the roaring 20s to the groovy 70s to the new millennium, we're loading up cafeteria trays with 100 years of school lunches.
Report to the cafeteria.
The 1920s.
I'm doing the 1920s.
The roaring 20s, flappers, jazz, and a new wave of lunchtime evolution. The 1920s marked a seismic shift in the realm of school lunches. This was an era where the concept of a hot lunch took firm root in the educational system. Prior to this time, youngsters were often eating stews, boiled meats, creamed veggies, and bread. It was simple, hearty fare, but health experts of the era were ringing alarm bells. Concerns about the nutritional deficiencies in these meals were raised, leading to a push for change.
Not good enough.
In fact, the Journal of Home Economics sounded the lunchtime alarm, fretting that if parents and community lunch programs were left to their own devices, children would be sipping coffee, munching on potato chips, snacking on pickles, and devouring frankfurters. As a response to these nutritional concerns, an increasing number of schools across the nation began to offer hot lunches. These weren't extravagant, Michelin star-worthy affairs, but they were simple and easy on the pocket. Think comforting bowls of soup and gooey grilled cheese sandwiches. The 20s also saw an uptick in veggies on cafeteria trays, so kids were finally getting some green on their plates. Moreover, this period saw the introduction of milk as a staple in school lunches, a practice that has stood the test of time, enduring to this very day. These simple but hearty lunches were a welcome addition, particularly for students who might otherwise have gone without a midday meal. As the decade rolled on, home economics teachers started encouraging girls to whip up balanced, nutritious lunches. Remember, this was the 1920s. These mini kitchens slowly evolved into professional operations, laying the foundation for the modern cafeteria kitchen setup we know today.
Now that's a school lunch story. Boom.
The 1930s.
You've made me 1930s work whistle angry!
A decade marked by economic turmoil and resilience, the 1930s saw significant changes in school lunches that mirrored the challenges of the times. With the Great Depression casting its long shadow, the federal government stepped in and authorized the U.S. Department of Agriculture to purchase surplus food from struggling farmers and channel it into school lunch programs. In a way, it was a win-win situation. Schools got an influx of food, and farmers got a much-needed boost during tough times.
So, win-win.
Thanks to this initiative, school cafeterias became a hub for beef, pork, butter, and other commodities. The 1930s were all about hearty, filling meals that would keep young minds sharp and bellies full. Vegetable soup became a lunchtime hero. Why? Well, it was budget-friendly and could be cooked up in massive batches, feeding hungry minds without breaking the bank. Those steaming bowls of goodness were served up with a side of hope as the nation aimed to tackle the challenges of the Great Depression one spoonful at a time. However, amidst the struggle, the call for balanced meals persisted. In New York City, relief organizations took the noble cause of ensuring kids had access to nutritious lunches. They dished out fresh apples, bananas, hearty vegetable soups, and trusty peanut butter sandwiches. These were rays of sunshine during cloudy economic days, offering both sustenance and a taste of normalcy. However, not all ideas were home run. Some of the attempts to create budget-friendly yet nutritious meals resulted in, let's say, unique recipes. For instance, a USDA guide suggested creating a sandwich filling by mixing peanut butter with cottage cheese or salad dressing. Yum?
Yum, 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 yum.
The 1940s.
So he's a 1940s gangster.
Apparently.
Fasten your seatbelts because the 1940s brought in a hearty dose of school lunch history wrapped up in a world of turmoil. By the early 40s, all U.S. states had federally supported lunch programs in place. It seemed like the nation was on a roll, but then World War II broke out and things got dicey. Funding and available workers dwindled, leaving many hungry kids high and dry.
No!
Just go on.
No!
After the war, Congress came to the rescue with the National School Lunch Act, expanding the reach of school lunches across the nation. The program still relied on agricultural surplus, which had its quirks. Schools sometimes found themselves inundated with food they couldn't possibly use. Perishable foods often met a soggy fate en route to schools or arrived unannounced at places that had no way to refrigerate them. Now, let's talk food. The 40s served up a mix of culinary curiosities. USDA menu planning guides were filled with recipes that were head-scratchers. Think cream creamed chipped beef, dried beef with butter, flour, and milk, Spanish rice with bacon, cornmeal pudding, fruit shortcake, and a little something called scrapple, which is a pork hash dish. School lunches weren't exactly gourmet affairs, but they were nutritious and belly-filling. During World War II, the government recognized the need to balance rationing and kids' nutrition, leading the War Food Administration to provide financial aid to agencies for buying local school food. It was a challenging time, but these lunches were a crucial lifeline for countless children during a tumultuous period.
Good for them.
The 1950s.
Show me your papers, clown. Papers? Yeah. From the 1950s?
With the post-World War II baby boom, the population was soaring faster than a 4th of July firework. Now picture this. You're a student in the 1950s and you're clutching your lunch money, which, by the way, was a mere 35 cents, a far cry from today's lunch prices. Feeding the growing baby boomer generation meant schools had to up their lunch game in a big way. Traditional hot lunches were still on the menu, but they were joined by their cool and refreshing cousins, cold lunches. These introduced a mouth-watering assortment of sandwiches, cottage cheese, tomato wedges, and the ever-beloved ice cream. What's not to love? As the post-war food industry was going gangbusters, children were treated to rich, protein-packed dishes.
I need to eat 10,000 calories a day to maintain muscle mass.
Meatloaf also took the stage, stealing hearts with its simplicity and deliciousness. And then there's the iconic Jell-O. No school lunch from the 50s was complete without a wobbly serving of this jiggly, fruity treat. By 1952, school lunch had morphed into a staggering $415 million business. It was big business, and private companies wanted a slice of the action, eagerly contracting with school districts to bring kids lunchtime staples. And for those who brought lunch from home, the paper bag was taking a back seat. Remember those snazzy lunch boxes adorned with TV show themes? Yup, they started making appearances on cafeteria tables during the 1950s. Gunsmoke, Hopalong Cassidy, you name it, it was lunchbox art. These lunchboxes became a symbol of pop culture and a way for kids to flaunt their favorite shows.
You don't know Rocky. You are literally pop culture illiterate.
Before we get into the next decade of Name What's on That School Cafeteria Lunch Tray, if it's your first time here, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
I owe you, thank you.
The 1960s.
What is the project?
He has to interview somebody who lived through the 1960s.
Oh, no.
Time to look back at the groovy 60s, a time of change, cultural shifts, and another revolution in school lunch menus. Foods once deemed ethnic, like pizza, enchiladas, and chile con carne, strutted onto school menus. Of course, the pizza was served in convenient squares, perfect for easy production and transportation. It's a far cry from today's artisanal wood-fired pies, but it was a hit with the kids. Traditional favorites like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and trusty fish sticks with tartar sauce were, of course, still cafeteria staples. This decade was not just about the food, but also about the behind-the-scenes lunch production. Many school districts decided to centralize their meal prep operations. In the Big Apple, New York City's central facility was bustling with activity. Imagine 100 workers each cranking out a whopping 300 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches per hour. Dozens of vats were simultaneously hard-boiling eggs en masse. Talk about an extravaganza.
Pun intended.
School lunches of the 60s had some familiar elements. They always included a salad, a simple yet satisfying dessert like chocolate pudding, and a refreshing glass of fruit juice. It was a well-rounded meal that brought comfort to hungry bellies. Amid all this culinary innovation, a not-so-pleasant issue came to the forefront. With the fast food industry starting to gain traction, nutritionists raised concerns that school lunches were inadvertently contributing to a growing obesity problem. It was a stark contrast to a few decades earlier where the primary concern was undernourishment. However, not all kids had easy access to school lunches. The 60s shone a spotlight on the millions of school children who were still missing out on federally funded lunches. In a bid to bridge this gap, President Lyndon Johnson signed the Child Nutrition Act in 1966. This act was a game-changer, expanding the reach of school lunches across the nation and ensuring that more kids had access to a hot, nutritious meal during the school day.
Too hot. Burn my damn tongue.
The 1970s.
Not fast food,
good food quickly.
The 1970s, a decade that saw school lunches go through some rather questionable transformations. Fruits, veggies, and whole grains found themselves in the shadows as the allure of quick and greasy fare swept through school cafeterias like wildfire. Inspired by the efficiency and popularity of fast food giants like Kentucky Fried Chicken and McDonald's, schools across the nation decided to take a page out of their playbook. Enter the era of hamburgers, French fries, and a whole lot of deep-fried deliciousness. A 1974 Houston school district lunch menu reads like a fast food fan's dream. Chili burgers, hamburgers, oven-fried chicken, buttered corn, and fruit gelatin. Now, you might be wondering, what's wrong with a little fast food, right? Well, it turns out that in the quest for cost-cutting, the quality of school meals took a nosedive.
That look like spit to you? Yeah.
Schools started using frozen, pre-cooked meats they simply had to reheat, and those oh-so-tempting French fries found their way onto lunch trays, reducing the overall nutritional value of the meal. To quench your thirst, soda became the drink of choice. The portions were supersized, and many children found themselves staring at uneaten heaps of food on their trays. This widespread food waste became a growing concern across the nation, leading to a sense of dissatisfaction with the state of school lunches. As if that wasn't enough, the weakening federal nutrition standards allowed vending machines and food service companies to make their entrance. They brought with them a slew of chips, candy bars, and other tantalizing treats that had kids flocking to the vending machines. Suddenly, school lunch was under the spotlight as one of the leading culprits in the growing problem of childhood obesity. In 1979, the USDA added fuel to the fire by issuing guidelines that stated school lunches merely needed to provide minimum nutritional value. It was a stark departure from the previous focus on wholesome and balanced meals. The 70s taught us that, like a disco dance floor, school lunches could take a few wild turns.
Just a little bit. I can't stress the littleness of it enough.
The 1980s.
Leg warmers! Where's the beef?
The rad 80s, a time of neon leg warmers, big hair, and school lunch menus that would make any health-conscious parent cringe. In the 1980s, nutritional standards went from bad to worse, a perfect storm that unleashed a wave of processed foods on cafeteria trays. School lunch programs faced a staggering budget cut of $1 billion, leaving them with no option but to turn to the convenience of processed foods. It was a tough era for veggies, and in 1981, the federal lunch program made headlines by reclassifying ketchup as a vegetable. Why? Well, it seems that purchasing actual vegetables was just too much for schools.
That's enough. That's enough. That's enough.
The 80s were all about convenience, and processed food creations reigned supreme. These simple, sugar-laden, and fatty treats became staples on the cafeteria menu. Chicken nuggets, cheeseburgers, and those iconic rectangular pizza slices were the darlings of lunchtime. These became cafeteria staples because they were not only budget-friendly, but also super easy to whip up. Side dishes followed suit with chocolate pudding and ice cream sandwiches. The lunchbox stars of the 80s were all about the cool factor, and handy snacks and pouches of Capri Sun became the ultimate lunchtime accessories. A late 80s game changer came from the Oscar Mayer Company. On a mission to sell more bologna, they came up with one of the most iconic kids' products of all time, Lunchables. These nifty little packages contained an assortment of processed ingredients that kids could assemble into mini sandwiches, pizzas, and more. It was the ultimate combination of convenience and fun, and it left an indelible mark on school lunch history.
Woo! Game changer.
Enjoying this video? Then how about hitting that like button? There's no studying involved, just a quick click. Thanks.
Let's roll.
The 1990s.
Look what I got, everybody!
Did you find a portal back to the 1990s?
Let's step back into the final decade of the 20th century, where school lunches reached peak indulgence. Rather than trying to mimic the allure of fast food, many schools decided to take the direct route. They invited fast food giants right into their cafeterias. Federal government standards gave the green light for big players like McDonald's, Little Caesars, Chick-fil-A, and others to set up shop within school walls. selling their delectable creations directly to the students. It was a win-win situation. Schools happily accepted the funding, while fast food companies seized the opportunity to capture young consumers' hearts and appetites. With fast food now reigning supreme within school boundaries, the pressure on school cafeterias to serve nutritious lunches started to ease. They shifted their focus to whipping up tantalizing side dishes and snacks. This new direction resulted in lunchtime lineups that made parents cringe. Obesity rates soared to an all-time high, and it was no mystery why. Processed foods and low nutritional standards were part of the school lunch landscape. The result? An alarming rise in childhood obesity that was impossible to ignore.
Definitely sounds bad. Okay.
As for packed lunches, they were brimming with delightful treasures like Gushers, Teddy Grahams, Ecto Coolers, and bottles of Squeeze-It. Vending machines also hit their stride, tempting students with a smorgasbord of tantalizing sweet and salty snacks and beverages. It was a delicious time to be a kid, but by far the least healthy.
You see how unhealthy that is.
The 2000s.
Number 1. What should we do to prepare for Y2K?
As the new millennium rang in, the landscape of school cafeterias underwent a significant transformation, setting the stage for a shift toward healthier food choices. By 2005, around half of all U.S. schools had welcomed fast food establishments into their cafeterias, and even more schools had installed soda and snack vending machines. The conflicted feelings among school districts were palpable. On one hand, they were eager for the revenue that companies like Pepsi and McDonald's brought in.
We need the money.
But on the other hand, they couldn't ignore the alarming rise in obesity rates among students. During this period, a growing awareness toward healthy eating began to take root. With the help of food documentaries and influential celebrities championing a wholesome lifestyle, schools across the nation began to pivot toward healthier food options. The school lunch menu started to see a makeover, with enticing dishes like grilled jerk chicken and barbecued pork sandwiches appearing on cafeteria trays. These were simple yet nutritious choices, and a step in the right direction.
Here's some chocolate, Fatso.
Desserts took a back seat, and fresh fruit instead of canned became the norm. Some schools even introduced salad bars, providing students with an array of fresh veggies to choose from. Milk even made a comeback as the preferred lunchtime beverage. The 2000s was also a time when natural and organic food companies like Stonyfield Farm and Annie's entered the kids' snack market, offering healthier alternatives to the classic sugary treats. These options cater to the growing demand for more nutritious organic snacks.
I also only eat local, organic produce.
The 2010s.
Salad, trying to eat healthy.
This decade ushered in a significant transformation in the world of school lunches, aiming to put healthier choices on students' trays. It was a decade marked by a collective effort to overhaul school lunch programs, steering away from processed foods and focusing on fresh, nutritious options. In 2010, President Barack Obama took a historic step by signing the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act into law. This politically contentious bill set the stage for officials to revamp the nutrition standards of the federal lunch program. First Lady Michelle Obama also made her mark on kids' nutrition and fitness with her Let's Move campaign,
getting kids outside, rock climbing,
highlighting the importance of healthy eating and physical activity. Beyond the political realm, a cultural shift towards eating healthy gained momentum, with celebrity chefs like Jamie Oliver championing the cause by promoting fresh, locally sourced dishes for kids. In schools, vegetable gardens sprouted up, allowing students to connect with the source of their food. The result was a menu that looked remarkably different from that of previous decades. School cafeterias began serving up dishes that would have seemed downright strange in the 90s. Turkey hot dogs and fresh broccoli florets became part of the lunch lineup. These additions aimed to provide students with a more balanced and nutritious diet, while less healthy options like pizza, cheeseburgers, and chicken nuggets were still available, but in moderation. Wraps gained popularity as a common meal choice. They were easy to prepare and came in a variety of fillings, and were convenient to eat, a hit with both students and cafeteria staff. Side dishes shifted in a healthier direction too, with yogurt, fresh fruit, and salad becoming regular features on the school caf menu. Water was also given out as a drink to promote hydration.
If you want zero-calorie water, try Diet Water Zero Light.
Stick around for another great video. Just tap or click, leave us a comment, hit that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell.